All right, I just finished watching Grand Slam Mexico. I didn't watch all of it Wednesday night because I felt like a zombie all week, so I fell asleep right before the Don Callis Family Trios match with Mystico, Darby, and Jericho. All the matches were good. I was only really, I wouldn't say disappointed. I thought that I would enjoy the Persephone Statlander match more. It was fine outside of how it ended, I guess, because you got a rough bump with Statlander doing a dive on the outside, and that happens after Persephone is harassing Thunder Rosa, who is the women's Mexican national champion. And let me tell you, I went down a rabbit hole and looking at the titles that CMLL has. Holy hell, it's so many. Granted, a lot of them seem like well, let me not say seem. There's a lot of titles that are only defended like once a year. And then there's some that are like only defended in certain buildings, like certain arenas. But my God, like you can scroll like three or four times and there's still like hella champions. Because I was surprised that Thunder Rosa had a title. I was like, oh, this is where she's been. I was like, where's Thunder Rosa been since she's came back? But she's been in CMLL. And on the broadcast, they said that she won that title a couple days ago. So very recent. But anyway, with the Statlander Persephone match, it was fine. Now Sheeta comes in at the end after the ref bump and hits Statlander with the Mexican national title. And I'm not trying to crap on Sheeta. I'm not. But when she comes in, like I don't maybe the ropes are just lower than usual. Because during the broadcast, they mentioned that the ring that's in Arena Mexico, like that's a permanent thing. That never gets moved or changed. Like that's their ring. That building is for wrestling. So maybe the ropes are like lower than AEW's regular ropes because she tries to roll in and she legit just like gets stuck. Like she doesn't like get through it easily. So then she has to like kind of force her way through. Then hits Statlander with the belt, walks out. Persephone hits a springboard frog splash and wins. I really like Persephone. I really, 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 really like Persephone. I don't think that let me not say I don't think, but I find it would be hard for her to be on AEW TV more while she's still CMLL World Champion. Which not to say that it hasn't stopped wrestlers who are champions in CMLL being on AEW, but like she's on a dual contract, but it's still she's mostly a CMLL talent. So I like to see her on AEW more, or maybe I just need to go ahead and just watch CMLL. I'm a little confused on where to go to watch their weekly stuff, but I'll figure it out in due time. Now, this trios match, I did not expect them to do a title change here because literally this trio of Bandito and well, Bro Dito and Hangman Page was just thrown together. Hangman's just like, hey, you guys want to go for the trios titles? And they're like, yeah, man, sure. I do feel bad for the demand because I really wanted the demand to have these titles for a while. And I've always been saying that they should have the titles because they are a faction that is a trio and they look good with the belts. Like it really suits them. And I was just like, this is perfect. You know what I'm saying? Now they can put on good title matches and, really showcase their stuff. But I mean, this is the thing because this is the second time Hangman has been a trios champion with an already established tag team because he was in a trios team with Jet Speed. They're Jet Set Rodeo, and now this team is the good, bad, and the ugly. So I wonder why they put Hangman in these spots. I guess just because is it just a matter that he just fits well with other baby faces, or that he's just the ideal guy to throw into any other situation. I don't know. Now, in the sense of him coming back from injury, it makes sense to have him in a trio so that he's not just always wrestling just one on one, so he can tag out and not have to do quite as much when he's like first coming back. From a physical standpoint, that makes sense. But from a booking standpoint, to me it seems like I don't know, this is the second time that we've given a heel team the trios titles just to have it taken off of them shortly after. Because the first time it was the dogs. When they first when David Finley and Clark Connors debuted, I think later in the month, them and Gabe Kidd won the trios titles. And they won it off of Mystico and Jet Speed. They won it on a collision. And then literally the next day on the pay-per-view, I cannot remember what it is off the top of my head. I wanna say it was Dynasty. I think it was Dynasty because Kyle O'Reilly came back and the conglomeration were fighting for the titles and they're like, "Oh, we have a secret third member. We don't know who the third member is yet." And it ended up being Kyle O'Reilly. So they only had those titles for a day so that we can get them onto faces, right? And this is going to go back to my thoughts on, do we need to so heavily rely on having face and heel dynamic all the time? Because in all honesty, regardless if you're a good or bad guy in whatever character you're being presented or what the company is trying to present, if you do stuff that the crowd likes, they're going to cheer or chant for you anyway. If somebody's a heel, but they have a nice catchphrase or a catchy song, they're still going to sing along or do the catchphrase. If you're a good guy and you have a good song, catchphrase, whatever, they're still going to cheer for you. And even in other face to face stuff, the crowd's probably going to be split. And I don't think there's an issue with two baby faces like going against each other. They just have to there just has to be some type of tension shown. And I feel like it's been done poorly with Punk and Cody, whereas with Osprey and Omega, it's been done better because neither of them are going to get booed, right? Kenny isn't fully heel, and neither is Osprey. So when both of them do their entrances, they're both going to get cheered, and at All In, the crowd's probably going to be split. There's going to be times where Will is getting chance and Omega's getting chance. I just feel like storyline wise, in the promos or however the story is told, you just have to be better about telling the story, and you can't just rely on, well, one's good, one's bad. We're gonna get the crowd reaction we want anyway. Like the booking just has to be done. It just needs more care to it. And that's not to say like I'm sure that the demand would probably be fine with like getting the trios titles for a week, but I would have liked to see them hold them longer. And I also think it's a matter of, since we're chained by these face and heel structures, that I don't think there's a ton of babyface trios. Like, I don't think there's a ton. There's more heel trios that you can put together. Because off rip, you have the Lethal Twist, you have the Demand, and then any type of formation of the Don Callis family and the Death Riders. And I'm sure I'm missing even more. There's some in Ring of Honor. You can do Shane Taylor Promotions. Like there's a lot more heels than faces. So that might be more of what it is. You have more heel challengers in the company instead of if you're baby faces. There's like, well, if you're heels, there's not as many baby faces. Like you're only rotating between like really like one actual trio and then like thrown together teams. 'Cause they'd be the conglomeration, the Rascals, Outrunners, Bang Bang Gang. No, that's three. That's it's a little deeper than I thought. It's a little deeper than I thought, but yeah, I'm just not a fan of just switching the titles just so we can the get the other more moral side, the titles. Like there's ways you can get to it without giving somebody like a one week, 1 day reign. I also feel like this is kind of similar to how they got Sammy the title so that Sammy could lose it to Punk. Whereas we could have just had Punk in like King of the Ring or something to for him to pick Cody and then they have that match at at SummerSlam instead of having Oba win it and then him not using the title shot. Or maybe still have Oba in that match. We could have had Oba versus Punk and then Brock Lesnar got involved and then that justifies Oba having a cell match and then Punk getting the title. But I digress. This trios match was good. Bishop Khan does like a leg toss to Bandito. Like he's leaning on the ropes and Bandito like rushes to like clothesline him. And Bishop Khan just like grabs him with his legs. It just like tosses him overhead. That popped me pretty huge. And Toa Leona, I guess his signature spot is lifting up every person on the opposite team. Because he ends up holding up Brody, Bandito, and Hangman. And Brody's like, I don't think Brody's in like the best spot because he's like kind of like hanging off of his back, but he's shoulder carrying Bandito and Hangman. So I feel like that made it way harder. Toa is just strong as hell. And the ending sequence is great because Bandito's trying to do the 21 plex on Toa. And he cannot lift him up. And he like has his like hands like spread out. But he's in a perfect position to get hit with a buckshot lariat. The Hangman just pops up, has that evil look, hits the buckshot. Bandito, you know, completes the suplex, and they win. Now I wonder like the true purpose of like the trios titles. Because with so many titles in this company, it justifies there being one that can kind of be hot potatoed around. And I think that might be what this trios title is because in theory, it doesn't have to be as serious or storyline driven as some of the other titles. Because you can just throw a couple guys together who are all very good in the ring and just have them have, you know, 6 man party matches that are of a high quality. And then that might be what they're for. I saw some random tweet that's like, oh, they were created so that the elite would have belts and that they could defend without them holding like the tag team titles or like some singles belts, which might be true. I don't know. Like I said, that was just from a random tweet that I saw. But, you know, I like the concept of the trios titles. I just think it's redundant to have, excuse me, I feel like it's redundant to have trios titles and tag team titles. Like, I feel like you need just one or the other. Now, the street fight with Will Ospreay and Mark Davis was really good. And there's a lot of spots in here that kind of made me jump. One, Mark Davis pulling out the fork making Will bleed, and then Mark Davis does a jumping pile driver onto a chair bridge. Now, this seems kind of. I'm wondering why he jumped with it, but then again, if you're gonna do a pile driver, like you have to, I guess, jump to land on the chairs. I thought he was just gonna like kind of like razor's edge him onto the chairs. But when he does his pile driver, the chair, every like from a watching perspective, the chair on the right gets completely flattened because he lands on that one. But the other one on the left side does not like it doesn't get like it doesn't bend at all. And it kind of looks like I don't know, it looks like it might hurt because I don't know if Will's shoulder just got caught on it, but the other chair didn't move at all. So that was scary. And the apron spot when Will is trying to do some underhook move, Davis gets out of it. He tries to do a power driver. And then Davis grabs the barbed wire, rakes it on his back. Now, I was wondering if like he's just like has it just hovering over it or anything. No. He legit raked it on his back because later on you can see like kind of like a line of like welts or like raised skin. But immediately after he's done, there's just blood like pouring out of like one spot in his back. And it's like Jesus Christ. But that sequence ends to Will hitting a power driver on Davis on the apron, and that looked rough. And the power driver that Mark Davis does, like his like regular finisher, it looks so crazy because they're in the now at this point they're in the ring and they're doing a sequence, they're doing reversals. They reverse the move, so Will's back is towards Davis. He picks him up. The way he does his power driver, it's so quick. Like the way he flips him around, it's so quick. It's damn near scary. Picks him up, flips him around on his head, and just drops down. It looked like he spiked him. Like it did not look like it was like it's not like a safely done power driver where like the guy who's delivering it is like leaning back a bit. So their head isn't really going straight on the mat. It's more so that it looks like their head is going to the mat, but they're leaning back enough so that like their head, like the opponent's head is really just like pushing into like and pushing into like the guy's thighs. But visually, like from the side, it looks like dang, you just dropped him on his head. This looked like he just dropped him on his head, like just straight up. And the ending sequence with Will wrapping the barbed wire around Mark Davis and then hitting that hidden blade, tough. Cause that, I mean, granted, with all the other spots that's happened, that's probably like the least crazy thing. But purposefully doing your finisher onto somebody and knowing you have to hit the barbed wire is just tough. Salute to him. Great match. MJF came back, which was expected. I didn't think that he was going to come back at this show, but I was expecting him to come back. He's going to be in the Casino Gauntlet, so it's probably going to start off at All In with Andrade and MJF starting the whole thing, is what it's looking like. Speedball Mike Bailey and Kyle Fletcher for the International Championship. Fantastic match. These guys have such good chemistry with each other. And Speedball needs something. I think he deserves a title. Give him the national title. I don't care what it is. Give him the TNT title. Something, man. He deserves it. He's so good. His strikes and his kicks, next level. Kyle Fletcher, bro, he's it. He is it. His presence, his moveset, the way that he can, just the things that he can do. Like he's very complete. His presentation is good, and he just like flips a switch. Sometimes with some of these sequences, gets like very like violent. Also has a lot of power. I like everything about him. I think I wonder when the next step of him going up the card is. Like I wonder what that looks like. Does that still involve him being in the Don Callis family? Because he's had the TNT title. Now he has an international title. So I wonder if that's like technically a step up. I'm not sure. It would be interesting if he's still the international champion after All In, if he tries to get the unified title. Oh, that could be what happens later this year. Because Okada's the only one that's had the unified title. And so if we're gonna go further down this road of Fletcher trying to be the best international champion, which is essentially just him trying to one up Okada, then he would have to go get get the Continental title. So we'll see. Fletcher might be in the Continental Classic. I'd be all down for that. But he's not in the Continental Cup, so it's not gonna happen at All In. Probably get the Don Callis triple threat at All In, or just Fletcher versus Okada at All In. We'll see.